I did my project on peer counseling, and thought you guys would like the title. These sounded very therapist-like. All right, I just wanted to let you guys know that I have a couple pictures, but because of what I did is very confidential and kind of a little private, I took pictures from things that kind of would show a good image, but did not have anything to do with what I actually did. Just so paints a picture for you, kind of saw what I did. All right, peer counseling. It's kind of just like you know what a counselor is. You just go in and talk to them about your problems or anything you want. But peer counseling is different because you get someone that's like your age or around your age, someone that you kind of know very well or even don't know, just another teen like you. But usually it's not just anyone out of the blue. It's usually people that are either going to go into psychology in that area or have been trained to do that kind of thing. And there are two types of peer counseling you can do. You can either have group peer counseling where it's more open, and you can have like a group like this, and I would be talking to all of you either about the same problem or you would just be talking about all of your problems, kind of like one of those little group sessions. Like an AA meeting, but I would assume since this is not an AA meeting. And another one, which is the one I did, is the one-on-one peer counseling, where it's more personal, more private, and you get to talk more about you, and you kind of just get to know the person on better terms, and you just feel more comfortable. You don't feel like you have to hide anything, because not everyone's listening to you. It's just the one person you're trusting. And we're all teens, so we all know we're not going to share our feelings to everyone. So a lot of times the problem is a lot of adults don't understand that we don't want to voluntarily go to the counseling office to talk to the counselor because, well, not all of us, but some of us just don't feel like they know what it's like to be how old we are because they're 40 and we're 16. How long has it been since they've been 16? So things might be different, people change, things change. So it's they just don't feel that we can connect with them, or, they trust their friends better, and they feel like their friends help them more than their parents or any other adult would. And also a lot of people just think talking about feelings is, just stupid, And so that's kind of the problem why a lot of times the counselors don't ever get to do much, especially at the schools, because not very many people are going in there on their own. And for me, peer counseling would work for people that want to talk but aren't comfortable with adults, is because it's someone their age that they feel like they can bond with and even make a friend with, and so you could talk to them on their own time, on your own time, or you could schedule an appointment if you really want to. And counseling, is not for everyone. Not everyone can sit down and talk with you and help you solve your problems, because not everyone's good at that. And this is kind of something I took from one of the websites I read, and it just talks about how you have to be able to empathize, not sympathize, but also sympathize, And you have to be able to listen, which means you not always are someone giving advice, you're more helping them along, figuring out if they can figure out their own problems. And you kind of have to be able to communicate and be sincere and just kind of help them out and make sure you have knowledge and skill in the area that you're doing. And what I did when I did it, with a few people that you may know or may not know, I kind of just sat back and I let them talk about it. I just said, you can talk about whatever you want. You can share anything you need to share, or anything you feel like you wouldn't share with anyone else. And I also asked them questions about what they shared with me, see if they could answer the problem themselves. Because a lot of times people like to figure things out on their own, so then they feel smart, they feel like they accomplished something. And I didn't give advice unless they said, do you have any idea of how I can fix this? Or they're like, I need some advice, I need you to help me figure this out. And then I also helped them find ways to de-stress and tell them, instead of going to punch a wall, you could take a kickboxing class, or you could join a sport or something like that. And another thing I did kind of behind the scenes of that is I talked to our counselor at the school, Mrs. Mielke, and I discussed with her some things we could do if we wanted to have peer counseling, more if they'd allow us, because it's a lot of training and a lot of stuff you have to go through to get that done. So we mentioned that because we already have kind of a group like that, which is natural helpers, we talked about how we could tweak that and make that more, a little more get to know the students instead of just kind of having it hands off and not really doing very much. Or we could have a completely different organization and just have that be just peer counseling. That'd be something different. And I have a letter that I wrote, which was my persuasive essay, and we sent it to the Board of Education, so they're like kind of going to look it over, and if they might either ignore it, because they sometimes do that just with letters like that, or they might like accept the letter and take it, discuss it, see if it's okay, if it's a good idea, if they have the money for it, if it needs to have money for the program, if we're going to pay for it. So yeah. So thank you for listening, and a special thanks to Mrs. Mielke, Mrs. Fuller, which was a past counselor I knew and talked to and got my training from, and all my voluntary people that came to me and let me do this. So.